Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm Nancie Velasquez. I am the Community Health Manager in our Omaha office. And joining me today for our Facebook Live is William Boyd from Legal Aid. I am the liaison to our Native American program with Legal Aid. And I'm going to turn it over to Billy because right now he has something to say before we even get started with my questions.
Hi everybody, my name is William Boyd. I'm an attorney with Legal Aid of Nebraska's Native American program. Today we're going to be talking about several different legal topics, but before we get started I did need to do a quick disclaimer that anything we say today is just legal advice, or is not legal advice, it's just legal information. Anything that we do discuss is not specific to your situation. If you have questions about your in particular situation, contact a lawyer, either Legal Aid of Nebraska here in Nebraska or your local legal aid. In addition, anything that we talk about today does not constitute establishing an attorney-client relationship. Having said that, we're going to delve into estate planning, wills, powers of attorney, and answering some general questions about that. So, Nancie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Billy. So I am going to remind everybody, you can ask questions in the comment section, but please keep them in general. Don't give out too much information. You can also email me your questions and I can do a referral and send it to Billy's office and they will contact you to answer the question or if you do need legal counsel. And my email address will be listed in the post along with this video. So we're going to kick it off with the main question that I have. So over the last month and a half, we have been advertising the Will and Estate Clinic that we did May 27th in our Omaha location. A lot of tribal members, were wondering why it couldn't be done life-size. So, Billy, if you could just explain to our audience why we couldn't do our clinic life-size.
Certainly. So some of the information we present at the clinic is just general information about what a will is, what a power of attorney is, and what a healthcare power of attorney is. That information is generic. You can go find it anywhere on the internet. You can find it on our website, and we could do that part via Facebook Live. However, the other part of our will clinic, which is the most important part, is to provide services that are individualized for individual tribe members. Everybody's estate is different. Everybody owns different pieces of property. Everybody has different family issues, family relationships. And so at Legal Aid, through these clinics, we want to provide personalized legal services. These are services designed specifically for you and no one else. So that's why we need to meet in person, because that ensures our confidentiality. That ensures that we're able to get all of the information we need from you. Everything we need from you may not be what we need from somebody else. So, short answer is the bulk of what we do at the clinic is personalized to the individual that I personally am meeting with or that one of my colleagues is meeting with. And so that's why it needs to be in person.
So, because we're not able to do the clinic on life size or to do it on Facebook Live, we decided to do our Facebook Live today just to answer some general questions that some members did pose to me. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to myself and we will get them to Billy. So the second question that I have for you, Billy, when we do have these clinics, because we do have a couple that are coming up over the summer and the fall in Lincoln and Norfolk, what do we need to bring? If I were to come see you in Lincoln, what do I need to bring with me?
Okay, so if you're going to come to one of our clinics are going to focus on three main areas. We're going to focus on if you need a will or what a will is to dispose of your property after you pass away. We're going to also talk about a general power of attorney, which allows other people to act on your behalf And then we're going to talk about a healthcare power of attorney, which allows someone else to act on your behalf for medical only decisions. So, depending on what you need and what you think you might need and what you discuss with the attorney at legal aid that, you both decide you need, you just need to bring mainly the information on who you want to be appointed to have decision-making powers. If you're working on a will, you also need a general idea of how you want your property disposed of. So for the will, kind of understand what property you already have and kind of who you want to give it to when you pass away. If you don't know for certain, we can work with that, but have a general idea. If you already have a will that's been drafted in the past, if you can, please bring a copy of that with you, because that will help us know what you've already done. And we can make adjustments and tweaks and do anything else we need to it. So just come with who is important in your life that you want the stuff to go to, or who you want to help make your decisions if you need help. That's what you really need.
Or you could leave it all to me. I'm kidding. Okay, so after the clinic, after I'm done talking to you, am I going to have a legal binding will right then and there?
Most likely not. Wills take a little bit of time to get together. Now, if you have an emergency situation, such as a life-threatening illness, we can do a pretty quick turnaround. But usually it takes us a couple of weeks to about a month to draft your will, mainly because we want to make sure everything is what you want it to say. The main reason is a will is your voice from the grave. This is your last chance to tell your family how you want your stuff handled when you're no longer around to tell them. So you want to make sure that everything is just perfect so that it'll pass and no one can really challenge it. So what we'll do at the clinic, if you are desiring to get a will, is we'll do an extensive interview and get information from you so that we can then pretty much draft the whole thing. And usually about 2 to 3 weeks later, we'll give you a call. We'll schedule an appointment for you to meet with myself or another member of legal aid to sign the documents. And at that point, you'll have a finalized will that you can then keep in a safe place and that your family can use once you pass away.
So, and it's also a good idea to kind of rethink what maybe they forgot, if they forgot something. So when you do contact them in a couple weeks, they can add stuff to it.
Definitely. So I've had multiple times when the person either didn't know exactly what they wanted to do for certain aspects of what they had, or they got home and they thought about it and they really thought about it and they said, no, I want this piece of jewelry to go to my daughter instead of my daughter-in-law. Those changes can all be made before you sign the document. So when we do the follow-up call, we make sure that all the questions have been answered. We make sure everybody understands what's going on, make sure there's no typos in the document, and then we schedule the time to sign everything.
Perfect. So again, let's say that you do my will and we do it here. We finalize it in Nebraska and I up and move to Montana. Is it legal there? Is it going to be binding there?
Yes. Most states have enacted provisions that recognize wills as long as they were done and they would be legal in the state where they were done. So as long as the will was done in Nebraska, in accordance with Nebraska law, then it should be received as being valid in any state in the United States. And that's really why you want an attorney to assist you with the will, because you don't know if it's going to be valid under Nebraska law. We do. We'll be able to make sure that it's drafted and meets all the requirements to be a valid will here in the state of Nebraska, and then therefore transferable to another state.
So piggybacking off of that question, we have tribal members who do not live in Nebraska. Can they reach out to you at Legal Aid and can you help them?
So unfortunately, the attorneys at Legal Aid are only licensed to practice in the state of Nebraska. We are also licensed in the tribal courts here, but the tribal courts really don't have provisions for wills that we do deal with a lot. So if you live in Iowa or you live in South Dakota, you can contact Legal Aid and we can give you some general information on what a will is, but we're most likely going to refer you to South Dakota's legal services or Iowa's legal services so that the will that you generate in that state is valid for that state. In addition, a will that's done in Nebraska sometimes will have trouble covering property if it's not in Nebraska. So you want to make sure that the will is done where you live. So if you're a resident of South Dakota or Iowa, you really need to talk to a South Dakota or Iowa lawyer to finalize your will.
That brings me to another question. So say some tribal members live in Nebraska but own land in South Dakota. Are they going to need two wills?
No. Most tribal members that you're speaking of own, the land that they own is in trust. Okay. with the federal government. So it's trust land. That is basically a former allotment from the federal government that's been divided and sent down to generation upon generations. That land is actually distributed by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They have special requirements that legal aid attorneys are familiar with to include in your wills so that your will be taken to the Bureau of Indian Affairs to distribute that land. If you do have land in another state, but you reside in Nebraska and it's not trust land, you can still designate who you want that land to go to. It'll be up to that person once you pass away to go to that other state to claim the land.
Perfect. So we have touched base on power of attorneys, wills, estates. Now, another question that I had, can we touch upon a little bit of living wills and medical power of attorneys or guardianships?
Certainly. So there's several different areas in the state of Nebraska where medical decisions need to be made. And the person who is going to be receiving the care may not be capable of making those decisions because they're incapacitated, because they don't understand what's going on. They're unconscious, in a coma. So Nebraska provides for various ways for people to designate who can make those decisions for you. The reason these methods are in place is if you don't designate, then state law designates who gets to do it. And most people want to make that decision themselves. It's a very personal decision, and you want to make sure the right family member is making the right decisions. So in Nebraska, the easiest way is to do what's called a medical power of attorney. A medical power of attorney designates a person that will make medical decisions for you, such as how long to keep you on life support, what kind of artificial nutrition you need, stuff like that, if you have been declared by a doctor to be incapable of making that decision. Those documents, though, must be signed before you are incapacitated. So you need to be able to know what you're doing when you sign that document. If something happens to you and you haven't designated something like that, then to make medical decisions, a lot of time your family members are going to have to seek what's called a guardianship. And that's where a court, a judge in a black robe, designates the person to make decisions for you. That is a legal process. It can be done quickly in emergency situations. I also know that guardianships are handled both in state court and in tribal court. So the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska has its own court system, and they do adult and children guardianships. So you have two options depending on where you live, if you live in the service area or not.
Wonderful. So those are all the questions I have. Is there anything that you can think of off the top of your head?
I do have one thing. You asked if you would get a will if you walked out of the clinic, and I told you that unfortunately you wouldn't be walking out of the clinic with a will. However, at these clinics, we're also discussing powers of attorney and healthcare powers of attorney. Those can be drafted same day, notarized, and you can be given the original to walk out the door. So if you come to these clinics, you're not going to walk away empty-handed. We also bring nice cups, hand sanitizer, pens. Nancie's group is kind enough to feed you free food too. I think we had bagels and I don't remember what all, muffins and cookies and juice. So you're not going to walk out empty-handed, and it's a good time. You get to socialize with some people too. But you can walk out with some of the documents that we discussed that day, and knowing that your future's a little more planned out and settled.
Now, also keep in mind, during these clinics, they are not by appointment. They are walk-in only. And usually the appointments last about 15 to 20 minutes. So there might be a chance that you will have to wait a little bit. I highly suggest getting there right when it starts, but totally understand if you can't. But just keep in mind that there might be a little bit of wait, but we do serve cookies and coffee and water. So, and Billy's office has nice swag, so you will not walk out empty-handed. Billy, any final words that you want to give to our captive audience?
I just want to say thank you for letting me come and talk today. Please do sign up if you live in the Norfolk service area for the Norfolk clinic in July. And if you live in the Lincoln area, we'll be in Lincoln in September. And we will be there all day. You can contact Nancie or their local community health worker there for further information. We will also have a link to sign up to just pre-register, so we already have some of your information coming soon.
Okay, so making it super quick to end our Facebook Live. Don't forget about our clinics, and if you have any questions, give me a call or email me. Thanks for joining us on this Facebook Live. Again, thank you to Billy from Legal Aid. Have a great day.